Related to this, although it's slightly off topic, was that I recently met a guy called Craig Fenton, who's head of strategy at Google. So he pretty much runs Google in the UK and Europe. And actually, through another contact called Nina, Google run an initiative called I Am Remarkable. And it's all to do with helping to empower and nurture and promote basically people from all different backgrounds, females, people from different ethnicities, and almost just give them a lot of hope and support. And actually, exactly what we're talking about is almost that the often, and ironically, that I have never felt this way, but that's a symptom of the actual problem, is that when it's when people are afraid to speak up or actually acknowledge the good things that they've actually done because they worry about what other people think. And then even recently, a lady who I know who's very talented, who reported into the CEO for a major company, she had a marketing background, but she was a problem solver. She was made redundant, and actually she reached out to me and we were having a chat, and I was saying to her that she should be going for these top jobs. And she had a crisis of confidence, as in she wasn't sure that she was doing it. And what I found was almost that it's very rare that a man would feel like that. But actually, I was raised by my mum, and I think it's almost one of the reasons why, in some ways, it's probably one of my superpowers that I relate to women very well. But actually, I understand, my empathy is quite high, But actually, from your point of view, do you think it's almost especially important to help lift other people up and kind of help inspire them, give them confidence?
Completely, most definitely. When I was in Sheffield, I don't know whether you know this, you would have left by then, but I had a role of director of women in engineering, particularly to help balance, shift the proportion of women in engineering, which is dramatically low in this country and indeed across the world. And if you look at diversity, whether it is women in engineering or other differences, the challenge is always removing the biases within the systems, whether they are systems education from early on all the way to recruitment, admissions, reward and recognition, and certainly all the way into employment. And those biases are ingrained. We don't often know that we have them. That's why they are called unconscious biases. And equally, it works that I will have my own fears, and I will need people to tell me it is okay. You actually are not perceiving your strengths the way I perceive them, like the conversation you and I just had. And it's important that other people help colleagues, whether they are female, male, older, younger, and different ethnicities. I mean, right now, it's so topical. What's going on around the world shouldn't be going on around the world. And yet it's 2020 and we are talking about criminal acts taking place because of difference, and that's not acceptable. We need to remove those biases. We need to be strong. We need to be vocal. We need to support each other, and we need to change the system. And in order to change the system, we need to know that the system is wrong.
I think one thing that I noticed was that I have a lot of black friends and a lot of people, friends of different ethnicities, but I wasn't sure how to respond, what to say, what not to say. And actually the way I decided to almost approach it was almost just to celebrate some of my genuine idols that happen to be black, but that doesn't necessarily matter. But almost the one thing which almost made me feel that I knew there is a problem is because when I made the post, I was waiting for the some sort of comeback. And if I feel that way, other people must definitely feel that way. And it's just that proved to me that there definitely are, and there is a problem. And I say it's difficult to solve, but almost it's how do you change people's perceptions, and it's hard to change the culture and the overall system. So almost what I was worried about was that if I said nothing, am I complicit? Because almost it's the classic statement of Oh, my mind's gone blank. But almost basically saying nothing is almost that you're complicit with it. It's the when the silence are your friends kind of thing. And it was almost, I found almost the recent last kind of 2 weeks quite difficult to deal with, just because I didn't know what to do. I wanted to help, and I don't necessarily agree with, some of the violence to do with statues, or even at the moment, with the pandemic, some of the mass gatherings. That concerns me a little bit. But the main principle, long term, is hugely, massively important. And I've struggled with how to deal with that in some ways. How to help.
And there are, I agree. I found the last 2 weeks, and when you reflect about life, very difficult. And someone was asking me, have I ever experienced discrimination myself since I came to the UK? And the answer is no, I haven't. And I've been very fortunate, and my particular difference or set of differences have not meant that I have experienced very obvious or uncomfortable discrimination, but I have seen it, and I have witnessed it, and I would like to think that I have acted and tried to stop it. But you are right. How do we? What are the things that are going to have significant, long-lasting effects to help us remove those biases, those problems in society? And we have to start with what we can, and we can on one-to-one basis. You were talking about what are the feelings of female professionals compared to male professionals, without ethnicity involved or other differences, just gender. And you are right. I remember colleagues back in Sheffield who would say, male colleagues, sorry guys, gotta go, I have to go and collect my kids. And I had reports from female colleagues saying, if I stand up at 4 and say, sorry, I have to go and collect my kids, I will leave, but I will leave feeling guilty. Whereas the male colleagues would report not feeling that guilt. And that is so, it's an internalized problem. So helping individuals who are different not to feel that is the first step. It is what I can control. I can only control what I feel and what I do. I can advise you to do something, but I can't control it. And certainly controlling the rest of the world, well, is very, very hard. So we start with oneself and what we can reach around us. And if everyone did that, the ripple effect, I would like to think, is much more powerful than not doing anything.